Thank you for staying with us on the show. Our next line of conversation is something that is very, very disturbing. You go on streets and major bus stops and you see some of our youths who ought to be productive with their days, with their time, taking to drugs and all sorts of substances in the country. And I'm beginning to wonder, why do we have these alarming rates of consumption of drugs and other substances in the country? I saw a schoolmate of mine recently, somebody who was raised in Ikoyi, very close to Ogba here, and she was looking like a 60-year-old woman, tattered, looking rough, and she was shaky. And in my mind, I was like, what is wrong with this lady? And people who were nearby actually informed me that she has taken to drugs for years. So this morning, we'll be having this conversation on saving Nigerians from drug and substance abuse. And we have somebody who's very passionate about this issue in the studio with us. Dr. Dokun Adedeji is the CEO, Compassionate Care Recovery Initiative, CCRI. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much, Jibara.
All right. Oftentimes, we always discuss this matter, drug and substance abuse, and it appears some of our sensitization, education is not really making impact in the society, because the rate of consumption of drugs and other substances is on the high.
To be quite honest, I don't want to be discouraged about what you're doing about the sensitization. It may seem not to be working, but it's working. But the thing that I think is most important is the collectivity of activity, in the sense that your station is doing it. If other stations begin to do it and begin to do it almost all the time on a regular basis, to get this to sink in, we will have the results that we want. I am certain that we're going to win this war. It may take a bit of time, but what you're doing, I must confess that is right. You are sensitizing us. And I've said to people that this is not the job for NDLA per se. Right. They can give direction, but this has to be led by everyone. We all have to buy into it. As you are worried, many people don't really care. And what I have found out in Nigeria is this: if something does not become personal, that touches you, people really don't want to get bothered. But I can tell you something. There are many, many homes tortured by this problem. So the more we talk about it, stand in people's faces and let them understand the gravity of what we face, I'm telling you myself, I'm scared. Right. But I'm not totally dismayed. It happens like this, a time, a lot, and the time will come, we will get a result that we want.
Right, so I mean, put it in plain terms, you are worried, but you're still very optimistic that it is a war that will be won. It might just take time, and it means that we all must also be involved, like you said. But taking a look at how, day in, day out, these issues becomes bigger as it may. So what would you actually determine as some of the causes of this seeming increase that we seem to be having, and the nonchalant attitude of people now to substance abuse? And like Ajibola said, it's not peculiar to only the youths. It's probably just because we see the young people outside. There are a lot of people who are abusing substances within the confines of their homes, their offices, and they are shielding this particular situation. But from what you've seen so far, because you interact with a lot of people who are in that space, what can you say is really the cause why it's beginning to look like a pandemic is bigger than epidemic?
Yes.
So becoming more like a pandemic.
I like what you said about seeming increase.
Absolutely.
Truly, there's a huge increase, but it's seeming, and why it's seeming is also from what Jibola said about the kind of sensitization that's going on, and people now becoming more aware and seeing it. Before we will walk by, call them area boys, and we don't bother. But now we're beginning to see that in every different crevices of a nation, corners, they're there. In the homes, as you said, they're there. Let me say this. People do not take the issue of alcohol seriously enough. One of the first set of drug that is available, or substance that is abused, is alcohol. When the UNODC did the survey in 2017 with the result, they did not touch alcohol. So you can imagine if it was included in the survey, alcohol is the most abused drug in the world. But people don't see it as a drug because you can drink alcohol, nothing. People don't get worried about alcohol until you begin to misbehave.
Right.
But one thing that people should understand today is this. There was a study done by Yale, Harvard, and Cambridge.
Okay.
They found that it's not the volume of alcohol that is the problem, but it's the fact that you drink at all. People do not know that we all have different ways of reacting to the same substance.
Absolutely.
So that's why you see somebody drink a carton. But you see, in terms of what are we seeing like this, is the fact that they are becoming more available and cheap. And they're everywhere, and there's no control. I don't know whether you read a few days ago, the NDLA caught a lorry that was coming from Benin or Togo, and the thing was concealed. You see, I will say particularly, as I've said in my meetings at the NDLA with General Marwa, is that, and he said so the same thing, the greatest threat to dealing with this and other is greed. The value system is collapsed in our country, nothing matters anymore. People, the things we used to worry about are no more there. You said you saw somebody on the street. In those days, if you see someone misbehave, someone is going to pull his head and say something and take him home. It doesn't happen anymore. The insularity that people are beginning to infuse into families, also the level of family dissonance, conflict. I also say to people, a family does not break down because they are separated. They can really be living together and there's a breakdown.
Absolutely.
And there's something that is also lacking today in our society, the value of humanity. There is no level of humanity anymore. And so you see all kinds of things. These drugs are there. People bring them in. Many are not domesticated matters. They are brought in. Many are produced. You read lately about the forest in Djibouti and the one in Oyo, but I can tell you for free, those are just tip of the iceberg. Before those large-scale industrial complexes were found, there were small-scale production units. You remember sometime 2 years ago, somewhere in a VGC, a man was cooking methamphetamine. And that was VGC. And you will find that in many homes, people can do it in a small corner and be producing it. For as long as our attention has shifted from values to money, people will do anything for money. That's why people bring it in. That's why people take it. Many young people take it because of a sense of hopelessness. It also comes from the
peer pressure.
Peer pressure.
Yeah.
Peer pressure. And you know, the peer pressure, you know, also when the homes begin to be more serious about parenting, some of these things will reduce. People have children, they really don't care. I say to many parents, they know their children's names, but they don't know their children. And I've said it many times that people don't like it. Many parents need parenting. And it's so important.
You can't give what you don't have.
You can't give what you don't have. When a mother follows, or a parent follows the child to school to beat the teacher, what is that? When you are driving your car and you are breaking traffic rules, you are telling those children that
it's okay to
misbehave.
Absolutely.
And I'll be there to support you. For as long as those things, they look elementary or rudimentary, but they're so critical in the what we're saying today. Drug use, abuse, and addiction, they're only symptoms of something more fundamental.
Okay, beyond the quest for wealth, do people also take to drugs and other substances out of complex? I want to belong.
Yeah, I like that. You are coming from the area of loss of self-esteem, poor self-esteem. Truly, and that also accounts for what we call peer pressure. Because usually what happens is this. People...
they want to impress.
They want to impress. You know something that I say every time and people don't like it? I've asked it. Why do we do Ashwebi? It comes from the same thing, wanting to belong. Because if you go without wearing it, nobody's going to send you back because they've already been invited. But Mama Dupe did this. Me too, I must. Why do you need to break your neck to make people feel good? And it's a sense of lack of self-esteem and poor external validation. People want external validation for their activities, for the lives they live. I don't give a hoot, honestly. Look, the first thing going from your point is that people must know themselves. What makes you feel satisfied? What is your sense of self? Sense of self. If you have it, it doesn't matter what anybody does. I mean, look at what happens today. A girl wants to get married. She says to her parents, I want to marry. I want just about 20 people. The president, never. Why would I allow that? When Mama so I was there with it. And then people will wear clothes of 10 million. And then,
just for a party.
Just for a party. So after that party, what happens? You will not be able to wear it next week. There should be, you can't wear it every time. They say to you that we wore it for so. Look, I think a time has come for many of us to sit down and check ourselves. And this lack of self-esteem you see is not limited to people who do drugs or who do, even among top people, politicians. That's why a man will steal $1 billion. And you ask him, why do you steal the $1 billion? Because his friends stole $3 billion. And so it's a sense of competition that is sick.
So one can actually take into drugs because of competition.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me tell you what happened. You see, but one thing, let me say something primarily. Anyone can take drugs. Anyone. And why do I say so? You go to parties, they can sneak it into your drink, they can put it in your food. There is no food substance today.
Even in cakes.
Chin. As no cause as that. So people can take it. But the thing is this, taking it once, your reaction to that first time dictates what happens next. If you take it and say to yourself, excuse me, what is in this thing? I'm not going to do this again. You may not continue. But if you take it and say, oh my God, when I took it, it makes me feel cool. There's a tendency that you're going to do it. So anytime you don't feel cool, you go take it. And also because your friends are taking it. You went to a party or you have a group of friends, they take you, and they say, Omo Butter, Omo Bishop. And they make you
get inside.
You know, that and those, and then you say, you want to prove something. And that could be the beginning of it. But the rate at which it is available makes it so possible for anybody to use, because it can be hidden in as many things as you can. They put it sometimes. You remember there was a time some 2 young boys died in their car because it was put in the AC vent. So it can be used in those ways. And but the most important thing is we keep talking about it like this so that the opportunities, people, the moment you see it, you know that it's possible, and then you check yourself.
Let's go back to the home front. You said something earlier, especially for parents who, again, know the names of their children, but not necessarily knowing who they are and the kind of friends that they keep. I know we've talked about signs before, but for the benefit of those stumbling on this conversation for the very first time, what should parents look out for in their children? Okay. And now we do know that, like you said, anybody can take drugs. So it's no longer a university student thing.
No.
It now starts from whatever age.
You remember, if you just know, the federal government just said that secondary school students can be tested. If there are no reasons, they will not say that.
Absolutely.
And if you then look at, and this is just a preliminary to your question, if you see the availability of all these sachet drinks, when you can buy 2 for 100 naira and put in your pocket, any kid can buy. And so they do that. And also because there are some drugs that are medication that are prescribed, and then that you can use, and then you begin to use and abuse thereafter. But in terms of what you said about parents, what to watch out for, the primary thing to say to them is, do you know your child primarily? If you don't know your child, you don't know when there's a change. So the power of observation is very important. If you know your child sits with you, you walk the walk up, you make noise, and suddenly it becomes reticent, he wants to stay away, he wants to be in his room alone, and says, I like my privacy. it doesn't mean that
all the
he's doing
time.
all the time.
It
that
could
they
also
do
be some things.
some
It could
other-
be bullying. It could be
Yes,
other issues.
you know, children, when they're the teenage years, there's a time of self, they want to identify who they are. So they begin the teenage
To try
struggle.
certain
you
things,
know.
okay.
So the thing to do is do that. And then when you begin to, if you enter your child's room, it's always locking it. And there's a smell, and it's always using perfume, strong perfume. The sweets is leaking, is all this menthol-laden sweet. The perfume is heavy, and then you notice that it's wearing dark glasses even within the confines of the house, and he begins to go out anytime he likes, come back late at night, and he's becoming rude and sometimes violent, even to colleagues, to friends, and begin to draw away from people. It doesn't want to get close to you so you don't smell.
You don't smell.
And then when you begin to notice some of them, you need to put all of them. Just one or two do not mean. As a robot, put a lot of things. His grades are dropping in school. He's playing truancy. He's not doing the right things. His room is in a shambles and all those kind of things.
Sorry, Ajibola Doc, I noticed you were saying he.
Oh, she. There's a she.
Because my former schoolmate is she.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just wanted us to establish that fact that
Look.
sometimes a lot of attention also shifts to the boy's child and then exonerating the girl child,
That's the-
thinking that the girl child
that-
is a saint,
no,
in quotes.
No, it's not. You see, today, okay, the statistics that was done, the survey that was done in 2017 by UNODC, they found that every 4 drug users in Nigeria, 1 is a female. And if you then come to the experiential part of it, when we see them, there's almost no difference in parity. There's I mean, you understand that?
There's an equation.
That's an equational
Right.
thing. As a boy uses it. And today, let me give you a particular, I went to talk at a church gathering where the Christian youth leaders, I spoke to them about drugs, and then the room was provided for me to see them. As a young girl came in, 20-year-old undergraduate, a Christian youth leader, she wore jacket, just as you said, she was shaking, she was shivering, and she was sweating. I knew she was Johnson. So I said she should sit by me. I hugged her. She broke down. She said, look, sir, I want to stop. So I said, look, I will help you, I will direct to your pastor. She opened the jotter that she brought to the camp conference and brought out 2 sachets of Colorado and gave them to me to help her destroy. If I hadn't come, she would have used it at a conference of Christian youth leaders. So what am I saying? The fact that you're a Christian, that you're a Muslim, that you're all this, it doesn't stop nothing.
Right.
And so
That could also be a cover.
Sometimes it could be a cover. There's no Christian university today in this country that does not have a drug problem. I can say that categorically. There is not one. Let them come to me. You see, the thing also that we need to be very careful, because of our judgmental nature and our tend to be punitive in our response, they hide many things. They know you're going to test. So in some schools, when you tell the security man, take him to go bring his urine, he negotiates with the security man who gives him his own urine, and then he gives you money. And when you test the urine of the security man, it's negative for drugs. And so how do you then punish them? Within the premises of universities, they sell.
From the picture that you have painted this morning, the problem is quite complex.
Oh, it is.
I know that this generation is very smart. So in your years of research, what are those other ways that you have discovered that they use in taking these drugs, like you rightly pointed out? And I'll go back to that, my schoolmate again. She was looking like an old woman, shaking. Then each time, she's always begging me for money. And I'm like, Ebun, no, I have to stop giving you money. Go and clean yourself up. So what are those other ways that you have discovered through your research over the years that they use in also taking these drugs?
So many.
Because sometimes I see some young boys or young ladies in the heat of the sun, they are wearing hooded top.
Because
They are wearing socks.
But you know, also let us be
but
very...
that profiling,
Yes.
is it also not...
No. I want to
clear that.
To clear that.
Okay.
Let us be very careful. You know, I say this very often, and people don't like it. We'll shout about the youth. Or the youth are doing this. I ask people, do they drop from heaven?
No,
they didn't. They're the children of some people, the husband of some people, the wives of some people. They are a reflection of what our society has become. So we don't like the picture we see. If we don't like what we're seeing in the youth, then let's do something.
Right.
The fact that they were, it could also be fashionable. The important thing is know your child.
Right.
You can say, oh, because others are wearing it now, they wear it. Truly, sometimes I wonder why they do. But some of them may just be as clean as you. That's the truth. But the things to look out for, when you see them, the way they dress raggedly, but that is those people living on the street who are in addiction. There are people living in the homes who still look good. People working in the office who do drugs. They are functional users. They come to the office, but a time will come when they cannot hide it anymore. When they start, depending on the grade or what they're taking, or depending on what they're taking, they can still function. You remember a few years ago, they tested some pilots, and some were positive. So it doesn't mean that because you are a pastor, you are a doctor. Today, a lot of people in the medical field are doing drugs, nurses and doctors. Because
so he's a respecter of nobody.
He's a respecter of nobody. He doesn't care who you are, doesn't care about your religion, doesn't care about your ethnicity. The moment you delve in it, you are sunk. That's so it doesn't matter what you are. You can be, that's your friend. I mean, I know someone who was one of Nigeria's first air hostesses. Today she lives in the joint. If you see her, you think she's older than I am.
Right.
There was a time she cleaned out. We even had a birthday party for everybody was happy. But one thing also I want people to know. If you say this, we want to do this, look, there are three things in the recovery process. The person himself or herself, the center where they go to, and the family support.
Yeah.
If, you see, people say they relapse. Relapse is not just because they want to relapse. It's due to certain factors. Did we provide an avenue for them to establish who they are again? Do we remind them of the life they had left behind? If those things are still there, do we deny them the opportunities that they should have because of what they had done?
Or even when you isolate them.
And when you isolate them, it makes it worse. You see, because today, Jibala, do you know that people don't have to go to the drug joints to get drugs?
Absolutely. You can actually
They can
come
order
to
it. And I've said to many parents, the moment you notice too many trips of dispatch riders to your house, check it. Check what they deliver. Even gifts to your children that are packaged, check them. Some of them can be loaded with drugs. You see, the thing is, there are so many avenues of use. They can sniff, they can smoke, they can inject. So it depends on what you want to use. And they can take as pills.
And so let's quickly talk about rehabilitation. I know you just mentioned it in passing, but I think that's also it's something that we need to talk about. Would you say that at the moment, do we have enough centers, enough rehabilitation centers? I see you shaking your head already. And so if we do not have the number of centers required, I know we can never have enough, but at least maybe just a handful that can actually help us take care of the situation, because again, what we have on hand is actually a problem. And so if we do not have solutions or places where solutions can be immediately sought after, and then we talk about relapse and them going back to that life that they used to live, how then can we ensure that as much as we're trying to save a lot of people from abusing drugs and substances, there's a place, or there are places that can find help that will ensure that they never go back to that lifestyle, even if there is a poor family support system at the end of the day, because we know family support system is very key. But again, sometimes because family system are tired, they can't deal with the situation anymore, they also turn their backs. And so the society itself are receptive.
You just nailed it about the society. How willing are we to give a second chance? The thing you said something about people relapse or recover. The centers are few, too few to help. And some of them that are available are prohibitively expensive. But again, I say to people, Rehabilitation is expensive because of what you need to do. But again, just like anything in Nigeria that is making money, a lot of people are just in it to make money. The thing about this, all of us must change. The paradigm must change. What do I mean by that? Our level of offering compassion, not sympathy, but empathy. Understanding, love, they go a long way to help these people. And I know that General Marwa is working on something. He wants the NDLA to have many rehab centers. I'm part of the committee that will work on that.
Does NDLA have any as we speak?
They have a few, but it's not that separate. No, it's not separate from the offices.
Oh, okay.
They find little spaces in the offices to do that.
Okay.
But they are also overwhelmed, interdiction and then rehabilitation. But with General, one should be grateful that he came into NDLA at this time with what he has done and the initiatives he has. So we must compare, no, not compare, we must appeal to religious bodies. You know, I was part of a religious body that we started one, and those ones should run with minimal charges.
Right.
So that, you know, there are a lot of people in the joint who want to clean out,
Right.
but they can't afford it. But if religious bodies can offer them the opportunity, it will be good. Also, corporate bodies. You know, when you talk to corporate, they don't want to be involved with drugs. They think it's contaminating them, but it's not true. And I've said to them, if they don't do something now, it will affect their business.
Absolutely.
Because people work in their companies who are already using drugs, but many of them are beginning to change. So it's a collective thing. If we do that and begin to change our attitude and we are receptive to this, look, from the people that I have helped, I've seen them, many of them are married today, they are doctors, they are lawyers. So that gives me more encouragement that it's possible. And recovery is possible from drug use for me.
Okay, beyond what government is doing and churches, like you rightly mentioned, how observant and careful should we be as neighbors, especially in some of these estates that we have around? Because a lot of things are happening there.
General, both of you are raising issues that are huge. I can say to you, for free, there's hardly any estate that is free of drugs. I don't care where your estate is. The more expensive your estate is, the more sophisticated the life of drugs you will see. You know what I say is, if we are all observant, we will know. You will know certain houses that young people congregate at a particular time, the kind of people who come there, the dispatcher that who comes to estate, and all those kind of things. Look, is this thing you mentioned at the beginning about sensitization? The more we know, each and every one of us, without judging, without condemning it, we will do a lot better than to profile. Don't mind those people when they live, that's how they live. It's not true. And I want to say this to everyone. I have never seen in my many years of working with them somebody who woke up to say, I want to be taking drugs. It's not possible. The first time is not by choice. Subsequent times, usually by choice. The first time could be by mistake, it could be by error, it could be by misadventure, but we cannot judge a man by the reason of his errors. We all have made errors in different ways, but I tell you, with what you're doing, with more emphasis on people knowing and having knowledge, and this, you know, ignorance generates stigma and discrimination. It's because it's what you don't know. It's not true. Many of these people are brilliant people.
Absolutely.
Engineers, doctors, accountants. How did he get out of school if he wasn't smart? I've seen people from MIT, London School of Economics, any university, and people working in banks. There was a time my chairman, the former company, said he knew an MD of a bank who was using drugs.
So, Doc, as we wrap up this conversation this morning, two questions I'm going to tie into one. Again, we've been talking about drug, and then when we look at the other round, which is substance abuse, you mentioned it in passing earlier that people also abuse medicated medications. And so how do we also strengthen over-the-counter medication? that smile alone is more or less like, okay, there you go again. How do we strengthen over-the-counter medication? Because again, sometimes these things are bought over the counter. There was a time that, you know, there was this law, or there was this, that you could not buy certain medications without prescriptions, but somehow prescriptions will will come out. And, you know, so how do we strengthen this to ensure that people do not continually abuse substances? That's one. Then two, issues around careers, also getting jail terms, or sometimes disappearing, you not being able to get them, because we know there are people who actually do not take these things, but it is business for them, like you rightly said at the beginning of this conversation. So how do we also go after the careers?
Everything we've discussed are tied, I said at the beginning, the lack of value system in Nigeria today is giving rise to too many things that are now symptomatic of that decadence. So what do I mean? Couriers, why would a man wake up and decide he wants to be selling drugs or importing drugs that are destructive of other people's lives? Why?
You alluded it to greed, but would that be the only thing?
Many times it is. You know, the greed translates into also what you alluded to about wanting to belong. I want to live in Lekki. I want to live in this. I want to have 10 cars. But you see, the question people are not asking themselves is, have you ever seen a person who sits in a car and sits on all the seats?
No.
It's not possible.
Right.
It is just a diminutive way of thinking, a mental capability that is affecting us. So that's about Korea. NDN is doing a lot about it, but there are too many.
Right.
And there are all kinds of ways. I don't have time. I've told you some of the things.
About those things.
You know, when you then, your first question was about...
Over the counter?
Over the it comes to the same thing. Over the counter. You know, one thing in Nigeria is laws are there. But after a while, the lapses come in. Everybody will run the first month to do it and then create another leeway for corruption. They arrest, and then instead of charging you, they do this and that. And we all need to work together.
Okay.
That's just it.
All right. We'll have to leave this conversation here this morning. Thank you so much, Dr. Dokun Adedeji, CEO, Compassionate Care Recovery Initiative, CCRI. Thank you for all that you do. We know that it's a human's job. A thankless job at that.
Yes.
But we know that this for you is passion. Thank you
is.
so much for
Thank
all
you.
that you do. And like he said this morning, everyone needs to be involved in this fight against drug and substance abuse. And of course, maybe this is where to talk about what Joshua always says: when you see something, say something and do something. And doing something is calling the attention of the authorities to it. That's another conversation anyway for another day. We'll take a quick break. When we return, Adebimpe will be here with her Lagos conversation.